Some strong winds coming into Yazoo City now, approaching Bovina and Edwards very shortly. And certainly, eventually, the severe thunderstorm warning will be extended into the eastern parts of Madison County and over into the eastern parts of Rankin County. You can see the line, and we've been watching it for the last couple of hours. It's very linear, which means straight line winds along that line, and it is now moving to the east of Vicksburg. We do have a tornado watch in effect, and once this line does pass, the threat of severe storms will end. So let's get a little bit closer right into this storm coming into the Jackson metro area right now. And as that storm continues to move to the east and northeast, right there, already coming into Flowers, Edwards, so it's already just about ready to cross from Warren County into the western parts of Hinds County. And out ahead of that, we do have some showers. These are not going to be severe showers. These are just going to be quick, heavy downpour out ahead of the main line. Gusty winds continue out ahead of the line. And really, as this line approaches, there'll be a quick burst of additional wind gusts, blinding rain, and then it'll end. I don't expect any tornado warnings in this part of the line. We'll see. Anything can happen. Our dew point is still only in the 50s. It doesn't feel like tornado weather out there, I guess you could say. It's not super humid. But certainly as this line surges across the metro area over the next 1 hour's time, there will be some additional emphasis on the gusty winds and the heavy rain moving through. I know it's kind of an unusual situation today because the winds have been so strong out ahead of this line. Typically, we'll just see some gusty winds, and then the big winds are along the line, but that's not the case today. Some of the biggest winds are out ahead of the line, and this line will move through. This would actually end the severe thunderstorm threat when it passes, but even after it passes, we'll continue to see some very strong winds. All right, let's go a little bit further to the south here, and you can see this cell that has the tornado warning on it, and I'll stop it right now so we can see it has already passed the Mississippi River. It is to the east of Natchez. There's Natchez back down here. So you're looking into the extreme northeastern parts of Adams County. It'll be moving out of Adams County very shortly, and then up into maybe just a little bit to the southeast of Alcorn. And here's Fayette, and you're right there. We did see a little bit of rotation in that part of the storm, and that's what we were watching back in the weather office as we were getting ready to cut in. So right in this area, there is a little bit of broad rotation in this area. Not really seeing anything distinct. And just keep in mind, today, even though there is a tornado warning here, I'll be honest, the big threat today is the strong pressure gradient winds already gusting 45 to 55 miles per hour, and then we have the line moving through. That's really more of a threat than when we see just a little isolated spin-up tornado try to develop here. So remember that as this line is coming through, we've had very strong pressure gradient winds, and trees have fallen down, and that has caused some problems and some power outages as well. But we do have, this is the only tornado warning in the line of storms that is approaching the area right now. And as you can see, it has already passed Adams, crossing Highway 61 right now. It's going to pass to the southeast of Alcorn, but the rotation and maybe some of the strongest winds coming into Fayette right now. Just looking at some of our products here to see if we can see anything unusual as that storm moves out of Adams County and up towards Fayette. So just heads up, tornado warning is in effect for that area. All right, further to the north, again, this line is going to continue to move very quickly through the Jackson metro area over about the next 1 hour time. And some of the strongest winds have already cleared Vicksburg. We were watching Vicksburg Skycam. It was blinding rain for a very short period of time. And you got this activity now coming into western Hinds County. So some very strong winds in addition to the pressure gradient winds that are going on across our area right now will do the velocity. And let me put this in motion because you're going to see this line surge. I'm going to actually go back 1 hour in time. And right there is the surge of wind that is coming into western Hinds County, right there. on the leading edge where you have the red and then no color. This is where the line of storms is what we call bowing out. The winds are focusing on that part of the line, and it creates a little bit of a bow signature where I drew that white line in there. And these winds are going to be crossing the metro area now over the next 1 hour time. All right, let's go down into southwest Mississippi. Katie's got a timeline on that storm coming up with the tornado warning on it. Again, tornado warning not in effect for Natchez, but from Fayette eastward down there in southwest Mississippi.
Yeah, and that tornado warning is just south of Port Gibson, so it does not include you guys, but you guys are dealing with some heavy rain at the moment. So we continue to watch this tornado warn cell. This includes parts of Claiborne and Jefferson County, and tracking that heavy rain and additional strong wind gusts in that line. Looks like it's going to head towards Jefferson, Tillman, Pattison within the next few minutes here. Violet, Blue Hill, Barland. Again, this is moving very quickly. It's moving northeast at around 55 miles per hour. McBride, Burnell within the next 10 minutes. Conn, Union Church, Pleasant Hill within the next 15 minutes. Barlow, Hoodtown, and Willing within the next 20 to 25 minutes. So heads up, you have heavy rain, frequent lightning, and some strong winds on top of the strong winds we've already been seeing today. So just keep in mind that. So here's a live look over our Vicksburg sky cam. That rain has passed over you guys. So the worst of the weather is out. Just a couple of some raindrops over there. But one of the main impacts that we have been seeing today have been those strong wind gusts ranging from 40 to over 50 miles per hour, and that's going to continue as this line continues to track across the viewing area. Another thing we are watching is that line that's continuing to track here. Multiple severe thunderstorm warnings embedded in this, and then we are watching that one tornado warning that we have. Let's turn it over to David. He'll have another check at what's happening.
Hey, and that's a good update. Again, reminding people of the pressure gradient winds that are ongoing in the area. This is a threat that is really impacting everyone in the viewing area as this line comes through. Out ahead of that, we've got a downpour here at the station out ahead of the main line. Here's Jackson, Crystal Springs. This is Interstate 55. And here's that Boeing segment that is coming into western Hinds County now. So in addition to those pressure gradient winds that have been 45 to 55 miles per hour since about 11 o'clock this morning and continue right now, here we have a Boeing segment enhancing the strong winds in this area. It's certainly possible we could see winds gust to 65 in this line of storms that is now moving into the western parts of Hinds County. So this is the Boeing segment, and this is why we have the severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Hinds County and parts of western Madison County. Scott Simmons has been over in Vicksburg, and I saw that he sent in a picture of a structure which was blown down, and that was even before the line of storms came through. Now, further to the southwest, this is our tornado warning polygon box. And we've had a little bit of broad rotation in the vicinity of Fayette. So southern parts of Claiborne and Jefferson County under a tornado warning. Now, this has already moved out of Adams County. But I would just want to emphasize again, today we have really a significant wind threat ongoing everywhere. And when we talk about these areas, severe thunderstorm warning, whether it's this Boeing segment or a possible spin up in the line, that only enhances the wind threat in a localized area. Now, keep in mind, as we look at the setup that we're dealing with, and I always like to give you what the setup is, where I think the better chances of tornadoes would be, that is going to be across our southern counties. I think really south of Crystal Springs and Hazelhurst, you get down towards Macomb and Brookhaven. It's a little bit more humid there, and there's no significant instability further to the north. There's a little bit of instability out ahead of this line down towards Macomb. So if we're going to get a spin-up tornado, it would occur down in this area as this line moves through. Now, this line is going to move through quickly. Here we are just a little after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and this Boeing segment and the squall line is coming into the western parts of the metro area. This will probably be out of the metro area by 3:30, this squall line. And so we'll probably see continuation of deteriorating conditions with the strong winds continuing, and then an enhancement as this line comes through. Now, once that line comes through, the threat of the severe storm will be over. So that is good news. All right, let's go over to the supercomputer now, if we will, please. And this is really something as well. I noticed Monroe is already down to 56 degrees. And at Vicksburg, Tallulah, behind that line, the temperature's dropped to 59. And look here, 55 degrees in Natchez. And even out ahead of that line, where there is a little bit of instability, temperatures are struggling to even reach 70 degrees. We're at 68 in Jackson and 70 in Carthage. So it's right here. That line is coming in, and you can almost see it there. There's the change in the wind right there, maybe even be lagging the line. It's probably more like here. So there's a little wedge that's coming up out of South Mississippi into the southwest parts of the viewing area, and this area right down in here where we could muster up a spin-up tornado. Further to the north, it looks like it would be primarily wind associated with that. So in the viewing area, tornado watch is in effect until the line passes where you are. So right along the line, everybody has a severe thunderstorm warning. And then we have that little spin showing up on radar in the vicinity of Fayette, and that caused the issuance of a tornado warning that is in effect for far southeastern Claiborne County and through parts of Jefferson County. It is a line that has been moving very quickly. It developed last night. We talked about it on the 10 o'clock news, and here is the wide view. Of course, Mardi Gras, a lot of the festivities were moved up in New Orleans. The line is still to the west at Baton Rouge, but this would be impacting New Orleans by late this afternoon and this evening. You can see, though, once this line passes, that is it for the severe weather threat. And you can see the intense lightning along this line as well. But keep in mind, we're seeing the observations where as this line passes, bam, the temperature drops into the 50s. So the rain will come through, and then it'll turn colder, and the rain will end fairly quickly. Here in the Jackson area, as I said, it looks like all should be improving by 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But here's the line now. Some rough weather coming into Yazoo City, stretching just to the west of Bentonia, being to Flora here very shortly, moving into western Hinds County, Edwards, Bovina under the gun right now, Utica, torrential rain, gusty winds, a little bit of thunder and lightning. And we've also had a large area of light rain develop out ahead of that. Now, I'll tell you what that's going to do. This is probably going to cool the air a little bit, and it may help to diminish the gusty wind threat out ahead of the line. So don't be surprised if you see these winds, which have been gusting 45 to 55 miles per hour, calm down a little bit. And then when the squall line comes through, they pick back up. So just remember, even though you got these heavy downpours moving through, a little thunder and lightning, and if the winds ease up a little bit until this main line comes through, that's when the severe weather threat ends. All right, we've been talking about the big winds today. Caitlin, can you give us an update on the winds that are going on across the area right now, what radar is estimating and what have you, because the winds have been very significant today.
Yeah, they have been very significant. We just had the highest report of wind gust at the airport at 46, and I think David said he had 51 at his house. So these winds are very strong here across the area, strongest here across our viewing area. If you look back off towards the west where that line has passed, we're still picking up over 20 to 30. So as that line passes your area, still expecting those winds to be strong, but they are strongest ahead of that main line, picking up around 48 north of Canton, in the Jackson area around 53 miles per hour, south of Crystal Springs 49. So some very strong wind gusts here across the area, ranging from 40 to over 50 miles per hour. I do want to take a look at those power outages because they have been adding up due to those strong winds. I mean, on my way here, I could see the trees swaying as well as those street lights swaying. So those winds are definitely up, and we do have some power outages to report. Right around 1,000 over into parts of Warren County, 300 over in Claiborne, and I think we had around 15,000 statewide. So those power outages are adding up, and that's all due to the strong wind gusts that we have been reporting here across the area. And that's going to continue to knock down those power lines and those trees here this afternoon, and the rain really not adding to it because that's going to saturate the soil, and that's going to help cause those power lines and trees to go down. So we'll continue to monitor those power outages here across the area. And we also had reports of Vicksburg home collapse over, yeah, so we can pull up that picture right now if we can here on the weather monitor so we can get a good look at that. We do have reports of that, and that was due to some really strong wind gusts here across the area. So here's a look at that. Wind topples home. No injuries reported, but you can see that a house has collapsed due to those very strong winds ahead of that storm earlier today. All right, let's toss it over back to David, and we'll have another update on that situation.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the winds have been really serious today, and we continue to watch this surge of wind coming now into far southwestern Madison County. This is a severe thunderstorm warning, straight edge on that line, and we'll go to Storm Shield 16 3D here, and I have it zoomed in for you. There is going to be a nice just push of wind as this line comes through, coming through the Brownsville community, Bolton right now. So if you're in Clinton and then up towards Flora, out there in the vicinity of the Highway 49 off to the north, out towards Kearney Park, got some pretty strong winds coming. Of course, the winds have been strong all day, but this will be kind of a nice little push of straight line winds. The wind's blowing out ahead of this line out of the east, southeast, and south. And then when that line passes, the push of wind will switch the direction to the west. All right, let's go back over to the maps here. We are watching multiple storms along this line of storms here. And I can tell you that that rotation that we were watching down there in the southwest part of the viewing area where they issued the tornado warning, that cell was not looking as healthy as it was a short time ago. So it's very possible that this tornado warning will not last much longer. Here again, as I was watching that storm develop, really looking at a lot of straight line wind, and I don't really see much in the way of any kind of rotation with that cell right now, and that is surging fairly quickly to the east. So hopefully we'll see that tornado warning canceled here very shortly. We're trying my different elements, and the shear, even with that cell, has kind of moved out, and so not as much of a concern on that cell. I'm going to stop that here. We'll watch it again here, and watch how you'll see some red come in that. Let me shorten that time lapse. Let me do 30 minutes. Maybe it won't go by as fast, but right there, you see that little red, and then down into there, that is showing where we did have that possible little spin up right in that area. See that red? And that is winds up over 60, 65 miles per hour. That was why this cell was tornado warned, but now it has kind of went kaput. Good news there, but you can see why that tornado warning was issued here. A quick spin up concentration of the strong winds that we've been watching through the course of the day. Let me look at the shear on that, see if we can see if the shear flared up with that as it moved through. Put it up, and well, the shear wasn't too strong, just a little bit of shear with it. It was very weak, but there you certainly could see why we did have the issuance of the tornado warning with that cell. So it is some good news there. We're not seeing the rotation that we were a short time ago. That cell doesn't look as strong as it was. In fact, it's beginning to look more linear, straight line wind feature associated with that on the leading edge of that. I'll stop it on the last frame there, and that's what I'm talking about, more of a linear or straight feature. And the tornado warning has in fact canceled, as I suspect that it would. So we're watching the situation here very closely. We're going to throw it back to programming here. We do have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. The pressure gradient winds have been significant today, and we'll continue to do so. I'll do a 1 hour time lapse so you can see how an hour ago at 1:20 this line was to the west of Vicksburg, and an hour later it is now coming into the western parts of the metro area. So we got a squall line and severe thunderstorm warning not even in effect for Holmes County. It's a little bit more stable there, so the cell's probably elevated, not severe. But then you get a little bit further to the south, the wind is a little bit more concentrated along that line. We'll be watching the line and watching for any rotation, but right now, coming into the Jackson metro area, we got a line of heavy rain and some thunder and lightning associated with that, all with severe thunderstorm warnings. We'll be watching for an update for you. Boy, I tell you, this line of storms has been producing torrential downpours as it moved through the metro area we've had severe thunderstorm warnings, and they extend now over to the east side of the metro area. And along that red area, boy, I'll tell you, the rain has been very, very intense along that line. And it will continue to move to the east at a really steady pace. Let me get a little bit closer here, zoom in so you can see that. We do have a tornado warning down for Pike County. I'll get to that here in a second. Here's a quick update. There is the intense rain now on the north end of the Ross Barnett Reservoir out towards Ratliff Ferry, through Brandon, east of Florence now. This rain has been super intense and blinding. In this line, as it moves through, a quick 1 inch of rain is likely. And the rain isn't going to end behind that. There's another wave of steady rain coming up out of the southern parts of the viewing area, which will impact the metro area. But the worst of the rain is now shifting to the east of the city, far eastern Madison County, and before too much longer, it'll be out towards Pelahatchie. But severe thunderstorm warning continues for Rankin County. Out ahead of that line, severe thunderstorm warning for Simpson County. Eventually, this will be getting over towards McGee. You can see the intense rain near Crystal Springs and Hazelhurst, through Wesson, coming into Brookhaven right now. The line still pretty intense down there. And then down here in the southern part of the viewing area, we do have a tornado warning coming up out of Mitt County. It's been a cell down near Liberty and Gloucester, which has exhibited a little bit of rotation. Still looks like a lot of straight line wind in that line, but just enough of a rotation in there that the Weather Service out of New Orleans did issue a tornado warning that does extend over into the northern parts of Pike County, which does include Macomb. Let's zoom in and see what's going on with this cell right now. So the tornado siren's probably going off down here. Let's look at the rotation with it. I'll be honest with you, it's a very continuation of a very straight edge in there. Straight line wind looks like the primary threat, but what the Weather Service is saying with that tornado warning is just a little bit of a kink in that line right there, and that is going to continue to move off towards the northeast. Here is Macomb and Summit, so moving off to the northeast. This is on the southern tail end of the line of storms. Let's check the shear with that. Very weak. So this situation that we've had today, the last 6 hours, we've had winds gusting between 40 and 50 miles per hour here in the not only the Jackson area, but the viewing area. So that has been really a primary consideration with the bad weather, is the pressure gradient winds. And, you know, even if there's a little bit of a spin-up tornado in there, it may not be much more than the pressure gradient winds that we're seeing. We just did get an update down there near Highway 24, Thompson, Hebron, East Fork, right in that area. This is down the eastern parts of Mitt County, getting ready to cross over into northern Pike County. We've got some rotation and a possible tornado warning down here. If there was going to be any threat of a spin-up tornado with the weather coming through today, it was going to be down here in the southern parts of the viewing area. Let me look out of Baton Rouge and see if they're seeing a little bit more of a spin down there. It looks like we did have a warning ring with that showing up just a short time ago. That was right near where we said Liberty, and now that little bit of a weak rotation has shifted just to the north of Highway 25 and coming up on the Hebron, East Fork, and Thompson communities. Again, we've had a lot of strong winds gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour. That has really been a significant factor today. We've had somebody in Ridgeland and the Rosas Bluff community electrocuted today. Terrible there with the power lines down and all up and down this line. We continue to see very strong winds. Notice even here a little bit further to the north. Let me move further to the north along this line, and here you can see west of Brookhaven, we are seeing some warning rings. Keep in mind now, when I show you warning rings, it doesn't always mean a tornado, but it does mean that there is strong winds in that area. And right in this area, this is straight line winds right now. And so we're looking at the shear in that area. It does look like there are some pretty strong winds. Let's check the severe weather situation if we're detecting winds in there. I'll notice a little bit further along this line here, this is a band of winds that are up over about 58 miles an hour. So here we got some 60-mile-an-hour winds in a line that does stretch right out ahead of that squall line that we've been tracking. And that comes down, here's Summit, Macomb, so coming out of Amite County and then up into not only the northwestern corner of Pike County, but parts of Pike and up into Lincoln County, seeing some strong winds associated with that. So, hey, you know, again, yeah, it's a tornado warning, but we do have some strong wind gusts even outside the tornado warning area. And really the whole situation with the winds gusting between 40 and 50 miles per hour, and now these big rains coming across the area, and we had the electrocution up there in Ridgeland, really a nasty situation. And there you can see just that thin band of strong winds coming up from Brookhaven and then southwestward down to the west of Summit and Macomb. So a nasty little line of wind associated with that intense line of storms that's coming through. So it's in that area right here where we were detecting the 60-mile-an-hour winds. And we were just talking in the weather office before that tornado warning was issued that this line in the southern parts of the viewing area wasn't moving much. The cells were kind of coming up out of the southwest and moving to the northeast. And now over the last 30 minutes or so, the line has taken an eastward push. The air down in the far southern parts of the viewing area, and we had said this if you were watching our coverage earlier this afternoon, if there was really going to be a spin-up tornado this afternoon, it was probably going to be from Brookhaven to the south. The air is a lot more unstable the further south you go. Further east up into the Jackson area, the air is not as unstable, certainly having some wind and intense rain, but has not really been conducive this far to the north for any kind of a spin-up tornado. When I show the velocity up here, it's just really been a straight edge associated with that line. There's been no rotation in the line. Severe thunderstorm warnings do continue now out from Carthage to Walnut Grove, Leake County, and over into Scott and Smith County. It is a little bit more stable over here. And that severe thunderstorm warning is just to the north of Raleigh, but this line, as it has moved to the east, has certainly produced some really significant wind gusts as it moved through the Jackson metro area. So no tornado warnings up here in the Jackson area or off to our east. These are continuation of the severe thunderstorm warnings that have really been in effect as this whole line has moved across the viewing area from west to east. We're just checking some of our parameters in here and shear. Everything here just says, you know, we have some intense wind, straight line winds, and rain. There you can see the heavy rain. The warnings continue. Severe thunderstorm warnings down to Brookhaven. And then we got this little bit of rotation. Let me go up here and just check the Baton Rouge, Louisiana radar. Look at all those warning rings right along that line. This is where we're seeing some of that intense wind. So this is why we have these severe thunderstorm warnings here along that line. And there was just a little bit of a kink with a little bit of rotation down there in the far eastern parts of Amite County. And it's not even into Pike County yet, so it's still in the eastern parts of Amite County. Came across Liberty and Gloucester just a short time ago. But there is a lot of wind, especially from Wesson to Brookhaven and down just to the west of Interstate 55, Johnson Station. You'll see that exit on I-55 as you're traveling down south towards Macomb. Get a little bit closer here, just trying to see if there's continuation, any shear along that line, and we do continue to see just this intense line of wind. And you know, what is shear? It's a change in direction. In this case, we have really strong southeasterly winds blowing ahead of the line, and then we do have an abrupt change to the west. So that's why we're seeing the warning rings pop up. Let's do just a little bit of a time lapse, and we'll go 30 minutes, and we can see how this intense line right there moves across into the southwestern parts of the viewing area, and just enough down there that we did initiate a tornado warning, which comes into Macomb. So the siren's going off down there, but we're still watching the wind off to your west. Katie's got a timetable on that, very crucial, as that line does continue to move pretty quickly to the east now, Katie. It's certainly a nasty line. The southern tail end of the line a little bit more active, with maybe a spin up further to the south.
Yeah, and like David had mentioned, we're dealing with some really strong winds in the area. That heavy rain in the metro is now over Rankin County, and they just had a gust report of 70 miles per hour. So seeing some strong winds still ahead of that line, tracking out this tornado warning. It is heading in that northeast direction. It does include parts of Pike and Walthall County, and majority of the rain right now is still back towards Emmett County, but this will be moving in. Even if we're not seeing significant rotation in the area, you're still dealing with strong winds as well as heavy rain that will be moving into your area. So it looks like Johnston Station within the next 9 minutes, Kirkville 10 minutes, Summit, Wilkinson 10 to 15 minutes, Bairdtown, Macomb within the next 15 minutes, Ruth looks like Lambert Store right around 15 to 20 minutes, Brister Store, Verna within the next 25 minutes. So these storms are moving very quickly here across the viewing area. So if you haven't seen the heavy rain and the strong winds yet, it's on the way. That's moving towards you. And I also want to take a look at those wind gusts, because we've had strong winds throughout the day today. And you can see where that line is right across parts of the viewing area. Winds are still picking up right around 40 to over 55 miles per hour here in the metro and over towards our eastern counties. But on the west side, where things are improving and that line has passed and that severe threat is over for our river counties, winds have dropped off. Still high, right around 20 to 30, but not as significant as the western half of the viewing area. So winds are still up here in the metro, and then over towards our eastern counties still have that wind threat, and then they have dropped off over on the eastern side of, or excuse me, the western side of the viewing area. As for the rainfall totals, this rain dumped about an inch here where it has passed over. So over towards the river counties, right around a half to 1 inch, over towards Vicksburg, north of Natchez, seeing right around 2 inches of rainfall. And this is moving fairly quickly. So it's been moving in and out. I think we heard the heavy rainfall here at the station for about 30 minutes, and it's dumped right around 1 inch of rain as it moves across. So right around 2 inches down towards Crystal Springs, Brookhaven, and to the east of Natchez, still off to the west of Macomb and Brookhaven. So this heavy rain is going to be in and out of your area, but it is moving fairly quickly. So over towards our eastern counties and just to the east of Brookhaven, Macomb, still have that rain to get through over the next hour or so. So we continue to watch that. And another thing, here's a look at those power outages. We are currently 25,000 customers statewide without power. And then we have a couple of power outages here in the metro as well. 4,000 Madison County, 3,000 Hinds County, and 3,000 in Rankin County. So we'll continue to keep track of that. Let's toss it over to David.
All right, still looking at that cell. If we could switch over to Storm Shield 16 3D. And we're still looking at this cell west of Macomb. In fact, we got a MDOT cam showing to the west from Macomb on I-55 there, and you can see just some dark clouds there. The wind's gusting close to 50 miles per hour right now out ahead of this line in Macomb, so very nasty conditions. This actually is the Macomb exit. 55 here, you know, they got that ongoing construction, and look it off to the west. That's where we're looking at right down. The cell is off to the west. Back to Storm Shield 16 3D. Here is Macomb, and the Skycam location right there. Still, as I've been saying, this really is very linear and straight. And, you know, there just might be a little bit of a wiggle in there. Still, along this line, we've had winds, or out ahead of the line, winds gusting to 50 miles per hour. And there is some intense wind on this line, south of Brookhaven, down towards Bogue Chitto, and then just to the west of Macomb. So there's intense straight line winds in here, and there certainly could be a spin up within this line. But as we've been saying through the afternoon, the biggest threat today to more people has been the widespread nature of the pressure gradient winds, which have been gusting over 40, 45 miles per hour in the Jackson area for the last 6 hours, gusting close to 50 miles per hour out ahead of the line in Macomb. And then right now we do have this little thin line with the intense wind, and the Weather Service did issue a tornado warning for a spin-up tornado in there. We're not seeing much right now, and we're not expecting a intense tornado out of this. But this is the part of the line to keep an eye on. It is a little bit more unstable down across the southern parts of the viewing area, and this developing line of thunderstorms will be spreading into the far southeastern parts of Mississippi and over towards the Pine Belt. So now through the next 2 hours, this would be an area, if there's going to be something that's going to spin up and produce something, it would basically be from Brookhaven or say Highway 84 and to the south. That's really, I think, the only part of the area that could see a spin-up tornado. Let's take a look at the situation back over to the maps. Our Jackson State Sky Cam, which has really gotten blown around today, it's on a different shot because the winds have pushed it around. It's still raining, but things have calmed down. Here's our Pearl Sky Cam. Got a thick cloud cover with some steady rain falling across the area, rain falling at the reservoir, but here again, things a lot more tranquil than they have been, thanks to that intense line that has moved off to the east. And look at all the water standing out there on the square in Canton from a big, intense line of heavy rain that moved through the area and produced a quick inch of rain. Tornado watch is coming down now behind this line. Once the line passes, the threat of severe weather is over. And as I said, I really expect areas from Brookhaven and Macomb over towards Laurel and Hattiesburg. This is the area where there would be the threat of a tornado in this line for the rest of the afternoon. The threat of any kind of a tornado is certainly long gone here in the immediate Jackson metro area. And even areas just to our east, there are severe thunderstorm warnings in effect. I don't expect any tornado warnings out of the line in this area. Really and truly, Madison and Hines can be taken out of the tornado watch now, as well as that line has now shifted to the east of Madison County over towards Carthage and Leake County. It's out of Hines County, the stronger storms shifting over into eastern parts of Rankin County. And then it's that tail end where we're seeing the storms act up. Here's the line coming up to Carthage now. It'll be coming through Carthage and Walnut Grove here just over the next few minutes. Eventually the line moves over towards Forest. Intense wind and rain as the line moves through. You know, we've had the pressure gradient winds all day, but there'll be a focus of rain and wind as that line moves through. Behind the line, you can see the rain does continue. The winds are a lot lighter with that line. And then you move down here into southern parts of Rankin County and northern Simpson County. You got that line moving through there as well. And we have severe thunderstorm warnings for that area. All right, Katie, what do you have for us over there? The winds have been impressive today. Boy, 6 hours of gusts, 40 to 50 miles per hour is a lot of wind across the area today.
Yeah, still taking a look at those winds. They have been significant all day today, and this is causing some of those power outages that we have reported that I mentioned not too long ago. But we're still picking up around 50 to 60 just over our eastern counties and then down towards Crystal Springs, Brookhaven, Macomb, where that line is currently moving over at the moment around 45 to up to 50 mile per hour winds. We're still seeing some gusts just west of that over our river counties, right around 20 to 30, but it's not as significant at what we're dealing with on the eastern half of the viewing area. So once that line passes you, yes, the winds will die down just a bit, but through the overnight hours, still expecting those wind gusts to be around 20 to 30. So windy day for us. Expect those winds to continue, but not as strong. And then a wide view of what's happening. We're still seeing that line moving out of the immediate metro area right now, and it is moving over towards our eastern counties, and that's where we do have those warnings in place. So all the way down from Philadelphia, down towards Brookhaven, Brookhaven. We still have those severe thunderstorm warnings. That's where that line is now shifting over to, and then we do have that tornado warning down towards our southern counties in Pike and Walthall. So we'll continue to watch that. Things are improving over our river counties. Things are looking pretty quiet here. We're not seeing the rain over Vicksburg right now, so looks nice out there. And then going over to our active warnings, we still have those severe thunderstorm warnings for parts of our eastern counties down towards McGee, Hazelhurst, Brookhaven, and Macomb. And once that line has pretty much shifted out of your viewing area, I do expect that severe threat to be over. So it's pretty much over for our river counties, but we still have our eastern counties to get through with seeing the heavy downpours as well as those strong winds, and the potential for any spin up still looks to be far south. As for wind gusts, like I just showed you, still seeing those strong gusts here on the eastern half of the viewing area. Over on the west side, still around 15 to 20. And then as for rainfall totals over the past 3 hours, that rain really came in heavy. We heard it here at the station, and even though it was only for about 30 minutes, it still dumped around an inch here over in parts of Hinds County up towards Madison. On our river counties, right around 1 inch. Down towards Crystal Springs, Brookhaven, and just to the west of Macomb, a little bit higher with those totals, right around 2 inches of rainfall, and south of Crystal Springs as well. So if you're over towards our eastern counties, big rainfall is on the way. And that's going to last for about 30 minutes, as well as those strong winds. So that's still ahead for our eastern counties. Metro, we're starting to see improving conditions over here. River counties, the threat is pretty much over for you guys. And then as for active warnings, we still have those severe thunderstorm warnings, as well as that one tornado warning far south down towards Pike and Walthall. Let's switch it over to David, and we'll have another update on what's happening.
Boy, the rain has been impressive. Unfortunately, those heavy totals end as the line is shifting pretty steadily off to the east. The line moving maybe about 50 miles per hour or so. I see statewide power outages coming up on 30,000 now. A lot of that was pressure gradient winds out ahead of the main line, and then the main line came through. So this is the area we've been focusing on, and I'll go back over to Storm Shield 16 3D. And I have one of the panels up that we kind of look behind the scenes for severe weather. I'll go through it for you. Here is Macomb, and this is just your regular radar where the heavy rain is. And then up in this corner, we're looking for winds. Tracking that area, which the reason there is a tornado warning, it's coming up on Summit right now, so it's crossing I-55 just to the north of Macomb. And this is another wind, and we're not really seeing much as far as spin or rotation. There certainly is straight line wind there and some gusty winds. And on that focal point here, this is normalized rotation. Again, this is looking more like straight line winds than a spin-up tornado. Nonetheless, this area heed the warning because the winds are certainly intense. This area has been seeing winds gusting like the Jackson area up over 30 and 40 miles per hour for the last 6 hours. In the last 2 hours, the Macomb site has been gusting up over 50 miles per hour, and now you have this intense line moving through. So the area for the tornado warning, but again, I just urge everybody in this area, there are strong winds all in this storm moving through Pike County right now, not just the area why there is a tornado warning. This entire line has intense wind with it and very intense rain. So it's really area-wide, seeing really significant winds, probably anywhere gusting 50 to 70 miles per hour based on the severe product we were showing you a short time ago. And here where we're seeing a focus of the winds as well. Just things to keep in mind down there. All right, let's go back over to the maps, and I'll put this in motion so you can see it moving. We'll go do a 30-minute lapse, and this is out of the New Orleans site. And you can see right down here, there's Summit and Macomb, and that line making steady progress. In fact, let me show you here. I'll go back to do a 1 hour loop, and you can really see how this line has moved across the area. It's now has probably forward speed to the east, northeast at about 55, close to 60 miles per hour. It wasn't moving much a short time ago, but now it is finally making a move off to the east. And keep in mind, as I've been saying, if anything is going to spin up down here as far as a spin-up tornado, it's going to occur in our far southeastern counties. down towards the Louisiana line, where it's a lot more unstable in this part of the viewing area. So just heads up down here, the tornado warning does continue. It's in effect a little while longer. I don't know if the Weather Service will let it ride. It's looking like straight line winds to me as it continues to move off to the east. As we've been tracking these storms, widespread strong wind gusts has really been a more significant factor in our weather today than any kind of a little bit of a spin-up tornado that would occur in that line. Let's go further to the north before I throw it back over to Katie for another update. We can see this line now coming up through Braxton, making its way into Simpson County. So the weather going to be deteriorating further right along Highway 49 near Delo, Mendenhall, and eventually down towards McGee and Sanatorium there. Further to the north in Rankin County, the far eastern parts of the metro area still seeing some intense rain. You know, it's still raining pretty good south of Brandon down towards Rock Hill and Thomasville, but the most intense line is now shifting to the east of Pelahatchie over towards Morton and further to the north up towards Carthage and eventually Forest. You'll get a nice little downpour as well. All right, Katie, what do you have for us?
All right, taking a look at that tornado warning down towards Pike and Walthall, we have a significant amount of lightning over the Macomb, Kirkville, Summit area. You can see total strikes right around 150 to 200 in that area, and then I'll work my way up, and you can see those lightning strikes starting to go down. There's still some frequent lightning in this line, but it's not as significant as in that tornado warning. So I'll go up into the metro right around 20 to 30 total strikes. And then as we go up towards Kosciuszko, Carthage, getting that blinding rain at the moment. Branch, Copperville, around 50 total strikes in that area. So it looks like the significant amount of lightning is far south down towards Pike and Walthall with that tornado warning. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. But I also did want to show those power outages. We're right around 27,000 statewide, and the highest county right now with the most amount of customers without power, 4,000 over in Madison. And this number has been going up ahead of that main line, again, all due to the significant amount of wind that we had, right around 3,000 over in Hinds County, 3,000 in Rankin County, and 1,000 over in Lincoln County. So we continue to keep track of that. Those winds have just been blustering throughout the day today, but the good news is once that line has passed you, those winds will start to die down over towards our river counties. We do have those winds right around 15 to 20 miles per hour. We still got some pretty impressive winds right along I-55, around 40 down towards 50 in Macomb, where that heavy rain is starting to move in. And then over towards our eastern counties, really significant, around 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts in the area, up towards Kosciuszko, McGee, and as well as Bassfield at 54 miles per hour. So we're still seeing those really strong winds ahead of the line. You don't want to let your guard down, because this is why we're starting to see those power outages. It's knocking down those trees and those power lines, and that's what's adding to it. But that line is continuing to move eastward, and we'll see that threat for really strong winds as well as the heavy rain soon push out of the viewing area. I'd say within the next 1 to 2 hours over our eastern county. So just give it a few minutes, and that heavy rain will be heard in your house for about 30 minutes, and then you'll start to see improving conditions followed behind that. All right, let's toss it over to David.
Yeah, the wind has been the story today. Strong wind gusts all out ahead of this line where we had some pressure gradient. Let's check in with our MDOT cam looking west from I-55 and Macomb. Looks like some pretty heavy rain coming into the area right now. We're still tracking a cell which is actually passed to the north of Macomb, so it would be up over my shoulder and up to the north, and probably has already crossed I-55 near Summit. Let's go to Storm Shield 16 3D, and I'll show that cell to you. And it is showing some kind of evolution. Again, here's Macomb, here's Summit. We were watching this little protrusion. This is on the southern end of our squall line, and it's more unstable down here. It looks like it's trying to wrap up a little bit. If you're in Monticello, keep an eye out on this storm. We're seeing a Boeing feature associated with that. And remember now, the tornado warning does continue off to the northeast of Macomb into the northern parts of Pike County, but there is a little bit of a Boeing segment here, and watching that to see if that tries to wrap up as that moves across the southern parts of Lincoln County and eventually could make its way over towards Lawrence County and Monticello. So keep in mind, more unstable here. If anything's going to try to spin up in this line, it's going to be across the southern parts of our viewing area. So the tornado warning does continue down here for the northern parts of Pike County. And really in this line, there's some really nasty winds as well. As we've been saying right along, the wind has been a significant factor today outside of the storms. And now as the line itself comes through, we're kind of having an enhancement of the wind right near the squall line. Further north you go, conditions are not favorable for spin-ups to be embedded in that line, which is a good thing, but still across our southern counties, there's still just enough of a concern that we could get a spin-up, and that's where we've seen a tornado warning or two. Let's go back over the maps, just give you kind of an overview of what's going on here for everybody else. It's still raining across most of the area, but improving conditions across our river counties, Vicksburg, Port Gibson, Lorman, Natchez. The threat of severe weather is over. Really, it's over for most of the metro area now as that weather continues to shift off to our east. As I said, the threat of the strongest storms, let me just show you again, is really east of Brookhaven and Macomb over towards Laurel and Hattiesburg. This is the area where there is more of a chance of a tornado spinning up within that line, and we were kind of expecting that yesterday as well. Now, as far as the viewing area goes, and keep in mind, I think Madison and Hines can be taken out of the tornado watch. Jefferson County, river counties, they're out. Franklin County probably can be taken out, and as could Wilkinson County and far southwest Mississippi. And out ahead of that line, we do continue with some severe thunderstorm warnings ahead of the main line, which continues to make some steady progress. We were expecting it to take about 3 to 4 hours to cross the viewing area. It entered the viewing area right around 1 o'clock this afternoon, so we're coming up on the 3-hour mark now of this line moving across our area. And it still has a little ways to go, at most maybe an additional hour before it clears the viewing area. I expect it to have cleared the viewing area by the 5 o'clock news time, but we just still have that one severe thunderstorm warning on the southern parts of the viewing area. All right, Carthage, you're getting that intense wind and rain now down through Walnut Grove, Pelahatchie, blinding rain. That'll be shifting across Scott County. Now Forest, Martin going to get hit with some very heavy rain. It's been raining pretty hard across Smith County, Raleigh, areas like that. And even just to the west of Mendenhall, the rain has picked up. So Simpson County will be seeing the rain move across your area as well as it shifts to the east. So that's what we're looking at, severe thunderstorm warnings down there. Look at the temperature drop. Now, I hadn't had a chance to go outside the studios here, but at the airport, when the rain approached, we were near 70, 64 now. Hazelhurst Observation Station is 63. On the west side of town, we could certainly be in the upper 50s already. It's 57 in Vicksburg. Natchez is 55. Our Delta counties has fallen into the 50s. And you can see that wedge, which I think the wind data is probably running a little bit behind. This line that you see here is probably right here, and it's forming that wedge of unstable air right down here in our far southeastern county. So over the next hour, this will be the area where there could be a spin-up tornado. This is what it looks like here in Jackson right now. We still do have some decent rain falling. When I throw it to Katie, I'll check my rain gauge and let you know what I had at our house. This was our forecast, by the way, 1 to 6 o'clock. Gradient winds all day, 30 to 50 miles per hour. Then we got the line of strong storms, Jackson 3 to 4. Katie, that looks like a pretty good forecast there. Kind of panned out exactly as we were expecting today. All right, she's got to check on those winds. Still down in Pike County, and watch out in Monticello as well. That's a nasty line of storms down your way.
All right, so taking it back far south where we do have that tornado warning for, again, Pike and Walthall County. Even if we're not looking at significant rotation, there is some really strong winds embedded in this, and I have pixel queried some of this, and you can see we're picking up around 59 miles per hour north of East Lincoln, 74, 80 miles per hour, and then within that tornado warning around 70 to 80 miles per hour winds in that. So some really strong winds in this, and that rain is falling heavy. It's moving fairly quickly in that northeast direction around 50, 55 miles per hour. So if I call out your community, do keep in mind you do have some heavy rain and some strong winds that are on the way. Pricedale, Bristerville, Verna within the next 5 to 8 minutes. It looks like JS, Topeka within the next 8 to 12 minutes. Tilton, Oakville, 20 minutes for you guys. Carson, Terrell, all the way down towards Santee around 20 to 40 minutes. So heads up for you guys. Friendship, Sunset, and Williamsburg if this area of rotation continues to continue as it tracks northeast around 40 to 50 minutes for you guys. But we've been saying it looks like one of the main impacts we are seeing here is those strong winds. So that's going to continue ahead of that main line. So over towards Friendship, Sunset, and Williamsburg still have those strong winds on the way. So let's take it over back to our reflectivity so we can get another look at this. We do have some really heavy rain over that tornado warning. So south of Brister Store, East Lincoln, down towards Summit, Macomb, some blinding rain. And again, this lasted over our station. We heard it for about like 30 minutes, and then we started to see or hear that rain calm down. So just expect some heavy rain for about 30 minutes to pass over your area, and then you'll start to see improving conditions. But those winds are still up ahead of that line. We can switch over to our wind gusts and see what those are looking like. So again, still seeing those strong wind gusts over on the eastern half of town, right around 50 to over 60 miles per hour up in Kosciuszko. And then we've got some pretty significant wind gusts along I-55. So things are down towards our river counties, still seeing those wind gusts around 15 to 20. They're still up, but they're not as significant looking over towards the eastern half of the viewing area. So we've been saying it, those strong winds are still one of the main impacts here across the viewing area. They've died down a little bit over towards the eastern half, but over our eastern half, you're still seeing those really impressive strong winds at the moment. Also, another thing, rainfall totals over the past 3 hours. We heard it here at the station, and it dumped right around 1 inch over into parts of the metro. So I'd say right around 1 inch to maybe over 1.5 inches over towards Hinds County, and then getting a little bit higher with those rainfall totals south of Crystal Springs and Brookhaven and just to the west of Macomb, picking up right around 2 inches of rainfall. Now over towards our river counties, right around 1/2 to 1 inch over towards Tallulah and Natchez. So this rain fell pretty hard, and it still has ways to go over our eastern counties. So as of active warnings we have at the moment, we do have those severe thunderstorm warnings over our eastern counties, and that will be extended into Philadelphia. It's right over parts of Forest right now and into parts of Rankin County, Crystal Springs, Brookhaven, just to the east of you guys. We do have that severe thunderstorm warning in place, and then we're currently watching that tornado warning down in Pike and Walthall County. So let's get over to that and we can get another look at that. But what I was looking at over the past few scans was really just straight line winds. So we'll switch over to our base velocity. And again, I'm not really seeing anything in terms of significant rotation in this area, but you know, it's possible that something could try and still spin up over here, but nonetheless, still dealing with some strong winds in that tornado warning, and that includes Macomb, Beartown, Summit, Pricedale, just north of Enon, south of Brister Store, south of Ruth, Wilkinson, and Johnston Station. So that's where that tornado warning is at the moment. Dealing with some strong winds and heavy rain. Let's get a good look at our sky cams at the moment, because I know that rain has passed over parts of the metro. So over towards what was our JSU sky cam, has been knocked over. You can see that was due to those strong winds that passed over downtown Jackson. So Skycam is knocked over. You can still see it's kind of shaking because those winds are still around 20 to 30 as that line has passed, but it's been knocked down, but we're no longer seeing that rain here. So there's the good news. We're starting to see improving conditions with the rain here in the metro. All right, David has another look at what's happening. Let's toss it to him.
Yeah, I see those power outages across the area. You know, it's not only from the line of storms moving through, but we had power outages prior to the line moving through because we've had winds now. This is going to be coming up on the 7th hour. Winds gusting between 40 and 50 miles per hour. Here's what's left of that line of storms across our southern counties, and it's been making its way across the extreme southern parts of the viewing area. Still some pretty decent winds, as Katie has been showing you there, and it's made progress to the east. It's moving to the east somewhere, you know, estimating by radar at about 50 to 60 miles per hour. And you can see here on our radar image how it is continuing to make that eastward progress. Still not only in that tornado-warned storm part of the line, there is really some decent wind even further to the north. Let's switch over to the Jackson radar and get a different perspective of that storm down there. And of course, this is the storm on the southern parts of the Jackson radar range in the far northeastern parts of Pike County and extreme northwestern Walthall County. It's been further to the north that we've watched this line, and it continues to make steady progress. There's Monticello now. That line making its way through Monticello, headed over towards Silver Creek, New Hebron. The line will be passing through you, and of course, with this line of wind, not only are we talking about that intense wind action, it's a thin band of heavy rain, and I had 1.5 inches at my house. I had about 2/10 before the line came through, and then about 1.25 inches as the line went through, and that was 1.25 inches in less than 30 minutes time. So that's certainly enough to have ponding of water in poor drainage areas. But you can see how it matches up, and it's really making some nice progress across our area down towards Jefferson, Davis County. There's Carson, Prentice. You'll be seeing deteriorating conditions. There is some rain and it's going to continue to pick up, and the winds will continue to gust as well. But certainly an interesting comparison showing the straight edge. And then further to the east, that wind is coming into Delo and Mendenhall right now. It'll be crossing Sanatorium and McGee in about 15 minutes time. And also with that straight line wind, we do have severe thunderstorm warnings associated with that. And like we were just showing you a little bit further to the south, moving across Lawrence and towards Jefferson Davis counties, there is some intense rain along that edge of the wind and rain. So certainly a whole potpourri. We had the gusty winds, pressure gradient winds, been gusting all day, and then this line of storms made its way across the area. Here we are a little bit further to the east now, and we still can make out the distinction of that line. Winds picking up across Leake and Scott counties right now, and like the rest of our line of storms, there's been some very intense rain along that line. Look at that thin line went through Carthage. The rain beginning to let up now on the back side of that. So the rain is letting up in Carthage, and then further to the north, there's no warnings up across Atala County. It's a little bit more stable up there, but still it's been a windy day. The winds have been gusting 30 to 40 miles per hour, and we did have a intense line of rain move through there as well. So the entire viewing area was impacted by these large straight line winds that moved across the area. So here's what's going on in the metro area right now. We still do have rain falling, and there will probably be some lingering rain into the rush hour, but the heaviest rain will have abated by rush hour proper. And when I say rush hour, I talk about after about 4:30 in the afternoon. Most, if not all, the schools let out early today before this line of storms came through, so maybe traffic in some areas will not be as bad as it was. There's no warnings for the immediate Jackson metro area now. Everything's shifting out of Rankin County, and then when we look at the entire viewing area here, we go to the WAPT viewing area. That line extends a little bit further to the south, and it's all severe thunderstorm warnings, and our tornado warning has expired. So that's what's going on right now. We'll continue to watch the weather. If anything else spins up, we'll come back on. If not, we'll see you